Just a few days before Halloween, two 10-year-old boys learned that a circus was coming to town, featuring clowns. The boys rushed off to the mall to buy their clown costumes. But after the night of the show, one of the boys went missing, never to be seen again. Our story took place about 10 years ago, when I was just a 10-year-old kid. At that time, my friends and I were really into clowns and their performances. As Halloween was approaching, my friends and I went to the mall to buy costumes. I didn't hesitate to get myself a clown costume, since I was a big fan of clowns. It was only one day before Halloween when the circus performance was due to take place. I couldn't wait until that Halloween night to try on my new costume. On Halloween night, my mother and I went to the circus. I was especially excited to see the clown performance. There were many people in attendance, and the circus soon became overcrowded and bustling. I tried to get to the front of the line so I could get a better view. Suddenly, I noticed a clown waving at me from the side of the stage, beckoning me to come closer. At first, I was a little confused, curious, and surprised, but I followed the clown anyway. When I looked at him, he led me to a less crowded spot backstage. Suddenly, the clown disappeared right in front of me. To my surprise, I was looking all around to see where he was. Then he suddenly reappeared behind my back and hit me on the shoulders. Startled, I turned around and saw him swinging around in front of me, moving his arms and legs as if he was performing just for me. He then gave me a small balloon. Noticing how amused I was, the clown put his hands up to cover his eyes, then silently lowered his head. I didn't understand what was happening, but just then he suddenly jumped up. His eyes were bulging out as if they were about to pop out of his face. Without stopping, the clown stretched his arms out and started to pull me by my hands. I was so dreadfully worried that my whole body froze, and I couldn't utter a single word. The clown didn't say anything. He just curled up and morphed into a piece of soft candy-like thing. He stretched out his whole body like a snake and then wrapped himself around me. He covered his face and then gave me a wide, wicked smile while baring his protruding sharp teeth. I became hysterically emotional as I began forcing my way back to the circus stage. But it was so crowded. I was trembling nervously, holding my mom's legs. As I looked around to see where he was, I was overwhelmed with dread. I tried persuading my mom to take me home, but she told me to relax, enjoy the show. It was about to begin, so let's get comfortable and enjoy it. Needless to say, I wasn't in the mood to look to see any more of the show, so I sat nervously while the lights lit up the stage and the show began. People were cheering with excitement. I nervously snuck around the side of the stage to see if that evil clown would reappear. Then, as I looked up, I caught the eye of another clown staring at me from the stage. His eyes looked just like the other one before. He commenced to put on a performance, a silent demonstration showing his emotions and characters, screaming, panicking, bright smiles, acting happy, and yet frightening at the same time. He showed us all types of facial expressions, and he performed just like a real person. As I was too frightened, I told my mom that clown was a ghost, not a human being. But my mother completely ignored me, and she told me to stay quiet and enjoy the performance. But I was in fear. I was so afraid of that clown that I broke into a sweat. At that time, all I wanted to know was, is this real or fake? With all my strength, I decided to approach the stage. As everyone focused their eyes on me, I tried my best not to reveal my fear. Somehow, I needed to convince everyone that that clown was a ghost. I kept reassuring myself, saying over and over in my mind that I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I got up and ran over to the stage to confront that clown. I shouted out loud to the crowds and said, "Everyone, I know this may come as a surprise, but this clown is not human. He's a demon, and he will devour and kill us. Everyone, please run." But the crowd was unaffected. No one would believe a child like me. The show just kept on going. Seeing that no one was responding, I ran up to the clown. I grabbed him, pulled off his nose, and tried ripping the hair from his head to prove to everyone that he was not a real person. But this was no joke. The audience responded with laughter. I made a fool of myself as the spectators roared with laughter. Under all that makeup, he surprisingly looked at me in wonder and asked, "What are you trying to do, young man?" And he laughed as he walked away. I was so embarrassed, feeling awkward and disappointed by my ridiculous actions. I apologized to the clown with a few humbling words of sorrow as I left the stage. Everyone was angry, confused, puzzled. Their eyes were all glazing at me with anger because I interrupted the whole performance. I felt so bad that I began to cry. My mom hugged me and comforted me, but I couldn't tell her the truth because I knew that she probably wouldn't believe me. That night after the show, when the lights on the stage had been turned off and everyone had gone home, I wanted to go into the toilet, so my mom waited for me at the gate outside. When I came out, suddenly all the spotlights lit up, and out of nowhere, clowns appeared. They started dancing and performing scary pantomimes. They turned their feet into bridges and walked on them. Their long arms turned into ropes, swinging back and forth. And I could see those wide, creepy smiles on their faces. Then a clown with extremely long legs walked toward me. He approached me, showing all his white teeth on his dark face while laughing disgustingly. I tried to escape as fast as I could, calling for help, but the harder I ran, the slower I got. The clown walked step by step with his frightfully long legs, stepping in front of me, and then turned around looking at me, covering his face with his hands as if to tease me. He rubbed his eyes like a crying kid and then stuck his tongue out. I fell backwards in panic. My eyes closed tightly as I did not dare to look at him. Then suddenly, I woke up in the middle of the night with sweat dripping all over me. I told my mom everything that I witnessed at the circus, but she didn't believe me. Realizing that there was no way for me to make her believe my story, I locked myself in my room for the whole day. By late afternoon on Halloween, my friend Westy came to my house looking for me. He looked frightened and was about to tell me a horrifying story. A child went missing last night. It was Hank, my friend. He went to see the pantomime show and disappeared shortly after that. No one knew how he went missing, but when I heard the news, I was shocked and wondered if Hank had been taken away by that clown. I suddenly thought about those sentences that my mom often threatened me with when I was naughty. She would say, "Remember, clowns take naughty children to perform their plays for them." I didn't believe that that was true, but it made obvious connections with me. I told Mom about Hank's disappearance and pointed out that it had something to do with those clowns. But she said, "Son, that's just something we parents use to discipline naughty children. Ghost clowns do not exist, and I don't want to discuss this any longer." I was so disappointed with my mom and my neighbors. They all assured me that Hank was kidnapped by someone, and no one believed my story. The next day, as we were driving by town, I saw a big clown holding a small clown's hand walking nearby. The small clown looked at me. His eyes were glazed and lifeless. His facial expressions were drooping with hopelessness. I'd never seen that little clown before until I found out that Hank was missing. I had no idea what happened to Hank. He was a good kid just like me. Or perhaps there was something suspicious he was trying to hide that I didn't know about. And until today, that little clown remained small, with nothing changing. I know there are actual ghosts and demons out there. They exist all around us, but no one notices because they're mysteriously silent. 10 years have passed now, and Hank has never been seen again. Needless to say, I've never been to another clown performance since then. Until now, I still don't know how I managed to escape those freaky, creepy clowns.